The story begins in the ocean, a small boat moving amidst the waves, carrying Kira and her husband Anton. For years, their life has been a routine of fishing, this being their sole source of livelihood. We see them sorting the catch with deep focus, crabs, turtles, and all kinds of sea creatures, preparing them to go to the port. But this calmness was merely a cover for what was to come. Kira is a woman who has reached the peak of her maturity, but inside her is a suppressed desire and a need to break this boredom. As soon as the young man Max entered their lives as a trainee, everything turned upside down. A spontaneous touch, a look filled with energy and vitality, was enough to awaken a fire inside her that she herself thought had died out. Kira became trapped between two fires, the safety and routine with her husband, and the explosion and warmth pulling her toward Max's youth. A single moment of weakness created a desire inside her that she could not control, even though she knew she might lose everything. One day, Kira goes to Max's house to meet him. The house was completely quiet, and a deep mystery draws her in as she explores the place, her eyes falling on the antiques inside. Suddenly, Max appears behind her, a young man in the prime of his youth, his eyes carrying a gleam that pierces through the calmness of the place. He breaks the silence, speaking to her in his voice about an antique piece she was looking at, telling her that it belonged to his grandfather. At that moment, the air between them became heavy and loaded with a nameless tension. Before the conversation could prolong and the spark could grow, Max's mother walked in, cutting short the moment where the real story began. The next day, Kira introduced Max to her husband Anton, and the journey of teaching truly began. Kira was the teacher, instructing him how to hold the catch, how to handle these creatures gently without harming them, and how to control everything with focus. Her lessons were not just about fishing, they were lessons in control and mastery. As night fell, Max was no longer just a trainee, but became a guest residing with them in the small wooden cabin. Kira tried to stay away from the danger zone, offering him to go to a nearby hotel if he was uncomfortable, but Max looked at her with total determination and decided to stay close to her. The night in the cabin was heavy and laden with tension. Anton and Kira were on their bed, but they were unable to get close to each other. The breath of the young man sleeping inches away from them was like electricity preventing them from harmonizing. His presence became a part of Kira's thoughts, even while she was in her husband's embrace. At sea, Max began to feel seasick from the waves, as he was unaccustomed to the constant movement. Kira approached him, and in a voice filled with tenderness and authority, she said to him, "Don't look down at the waves, keep your eyes on the horizon, look in front of me." A simple piece of advice, but it made their eyes meet in a long moment of silence, breaking the barrier of awe, and Max began to adopt her ways. On a stormy night, thunder was shaking the cabin. Kira woke up startled by the sound of the door slamming shut. She entered Max's room and found it empty. She ran out after him into the rain and darkness, worried about him. She found him coming back from among the trees, carrying a small puppy he had saved from death. At that moment, Kira saw in him the spirit of a hero who risks his life for a weak creature, and this completely changed her image of him. They returned to the house, drenched in water, the power cut off, and the sound of the rain still beating against the roof. Max was sitting in front of the fire, his body still shivering from the cold. Kira could not just stand and watch, she approached him and began massaging his shoulders and arms to warm him up. At this moment, the warm touch of her hands on his wet body completely changed the chemistry of the place. Max looked at her with a gaze full of hunger and longing, and their eyes met in a silence that was louder than the sound of thunder outside. Kira felt that she was on the edge of an abyss, so she quickly withdrew and hid in her room before she could weaken. Days passed, and Kira tried to return to the routine. She fled from the boat and from his presence, occupying herself with her friend's children, until the wedding day of one of their old friends arrived. The entire port was filled with lights, decorations, dancing, and drinking. Max was playing his flute, and the sound of the music was playing on the heartstrings of Kira, who was trying at that time to ignore him. Amidst the crowd and the dancing, Max went out to catch some fresh air, and Kira could not stop herself from following him. The air was filled with the scent of the sea, which began to loosen the chains. Max offered that they go to an old abandoned house nearby. In the silence of that house which had witnessed so much, Max pulled out a dress and asked her to wear it. In that room, under the influence of drink, loneliness, and the tension accumulated over days, Kira surrendered to the desire she had been trying to kill. All red lines were erased, and they lived a beautiful moment that was both an escape and a pain at the same time. As soon as that moment ended, the weight of the shock hit her. Regret gnawed at her heart, and she felt she had committed an unforgivable mistake. She left the room hurriedly without uttering a word, returned to the wedding party, and threw herself into her husband Anton's embrace, squeezing him with all her might as if trying to hide from her guilt inside him. Then, Kira made her decision: this road must be closed. She turned to Anton and said to him in a voice full of determination that hid a fear behind it, "Max must find another place to live, we need our privacy." At sea, silence spoke louder than ever before. Kira was trying to escape her own eyes, which were searching for Max in every corner of the boat. She was excessively focused on her work, so as not to weaken. During this time, a young girl appeared in Max's life, a girl in the prime of her youth, who tried to get close to him and attract him with her beauty and youth, but Max's mind and heart were somewhere else entirely. He rejected her with utter coldness, because whoever has tasted Kira's love and maturity will never settle for anyone else. As time went by, Kira began to feel the emptiness of the house, and loneliness was gnawing at her, while Max's image never left her imagination. One day, while they were out at sea, a situation occurred that brought them close to each other again, as the waves knocked them against one another, and that delicate touch needed no justification. The barriers Kira had built over the past days collapsed in seconds. From that moment on, there was no turning back. Kira and Max became one soul in two bodies, living their story in every corner of the cabin, on the boat amidst the waves, and in every moment Anton was away. Kira forgot that she had a husband, forgot her age, and forgot the whole world. She felt as though she had become a 20-year-old girl again in Max's arms. But in small communities like this, no secret remains hidden. People at the port began to notice their looks, their touches, and the way they isolated themselves from everyone. Even their old friend, who had recently married, confronted Kira with words as sharp as poison, saying to her, "What are you doing? This young man is nearly your son. Where is your husband? And where are the years of your life?" Kira tried to deny it, but her eyes exposed her. She felt looks of disgust and rejection from everyone around her, but strangely, she did not care. The desire inside her was stronger than any pain, and she decided to live this moment until the end, no matter the price she would pay. The whispers turned into shouts in her face, and the rejection became an outright assault. One day, Kira found herself cornered among merciless people, children and adults directing words at her as sharp as poison. The situation escalated into beating and assault. Max could not stand to see her in this state and remain silent, so he rushed toward them like a lion to protect her, but the crowd was too large for him. A stray stone struck his face, opening a wound from which blood bled. They returned home, and Kira began tending to his wounds, her hands trembling as she wiped the blood from his face, which still held the gleam of love. Max tried to reassure her, saying in a raspy voice, "No one will separate us." But at that moment, Kira exploded. Anger, regret, and fear all came out in a single scream in his face, as she said to him, "You are the one who destroyed my life, you are the one who ruined my reputation and my peace, and if you hadn't entered my life, none of this would have happened." Her words were harsher on Max than the stone that cut his face. He looked at her with a look of shock he had not expected, and replied with a deadly calm, "I am leaving tomorrow. If you want to come with me, come, and if you want to stay here and face their disgust alone, that is your decision." Kira replied with utmost sorrow, "Where would I go? I have a husband, and I have years of life and history, I cannot throw all that away for you." Max walked away, and Kira began wiping away the traces of the crime, cleaning the house, tidying the boat, and trying to return everything to how it was before Anton returned from his travel. She was trying to convince herself that she could go back to being the old Kira, the sane, committed woman. But the next day, as she stood on her boat amidst the deadly silence, she felt that the soul had left the place. Suddenly, a reel of her memories with Max rushed over her, his touches, his energy, and the life she felt with him. In a single second, she threw everything away and ran with all her might toward the port. The ship had already begun to move, so she leaped onto it, panting, her eyes searching for him in every corner, until she spotted him sitting at the back of the ship alone. When their eyes met on the ship, Max did not need to speak, a calm, pure smile from him was enough to say everything. At that moment, the two made their silent decision: they would be together no matter the price, and no matter the consequences that awaited them in the unknown. Kira chose to throw herself into the arms of adventure, and to live the remainder of her life on her own terms. A few months later, we see Kira in a lawyer's office, but this time she is not alone. Anton was sitting across from her. The two agreed on a divorce with complete calmness and maturity. The lawyer, who knew them and knew their long companionship, tried to intervene and convince them to reconsider, warning them that this step was irreversible. But Kira and Anton were like rock, their decision was final. Inside, Kira knew she had lost a great man, feeling the pain of the sin she committed against Anton, but at the same time, she believed that if she stayed with him while her heart and mind were somewhere else, she would be unfair to him. The new love was the bitter truth she had to face until the end. In the final scene, we see them walking out of the office together, no fighting and no hatred, but a final farewell with dignity. Kira stood watching Anton as he walked away from her, her eyes full of a strange mixture of nostalgia, pain, and relief. The story had finally reached its very last line. Kira closed the page of safety to open a new page, full of warmth and tension with Max. And with that, our movie has ended. If you liked the movie, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell button to receive everything new we offer.